Guys, I'm so excited because we get to hang out with James Loveday today. And in my opinion, James, and I'm not making this up, this is the truth. In my opinion, you have the best marketing brain in the NDIS at coming up with crazy ideas. Okay? Crazy ideas that can be actioned. And in Australia, I'm sure there's 100 people who are more polished at taking a good idea and refining it and working it through. But I literally know no one else who can come up with the crazy ideas you come up with. Okay? What's behind your crazy brain, and how on earth do you come up with crazy marketing ideas that people like me look at and go, I never would have thought of that. That's so clever. Like, what's the story there?
I think it comes down to most people most people, they look within themselves and they go, what would I want? Okay. So they'll go, when they're looking at marketing, when they're looking at social media marketing, when they're looking at building an audience, when they're looking at building a referral stream, they go, what would I want? The problem is that you're not your customer. And you need to think, what does your customer want? Where is your customer? So when you start thinking like that, you actually start opening up where you would market and how you would market. So and how you would get those referrals. And a lot of people also, so where does it come from in my brain? Okay. So in my brain, anyone that's ever worked with me would say that I'm extremely odd. I have a really interesting approach to stuff. I can be pushy. I don't mind a really, really good in-depth conversation about a topic. So my brain, or the way I've learned over the years, is called being an autodidact, which is a way of learning where you self-learn, you self-teach, you're generally interested in something. But it works a little bit like how AI works. So in theory, it sources a whole bunch of information and then blurts something out. So when someone asks me a question like, we want to go into a new region, okay, as a service provider, and you look at that region and you go, well, where are the participants within that region? What are you aiming on? So there was one provider I worked with that was a mental health provider. We know that a lot of people with mental health in that area came from lower socioeconomic. And I said, there's no point going to that area and going, hey, let's just put some ads in a newspaper and hope people come to us. This is ads in a newspaper day. I said, what if we spend a bit of money and we get tote bags? And they're like, but everyone has tote bags. I'm like, yeah, but it's where you put your tote bag. If you're giving a tote bag to someone, a referral partner, they're just going to put it in their cupboard. They're going to leave it in their car. It's never going to be used again. But if you give a tote bag that someone's going to use it, they're going to use it. So what the concept around that was lower socioeconomic, mental health, regional area. Let's get tote bags and let's donate them to a local op shop, because the op shop is going to give out those tote bags. People are going to reuse them and reuse them and reuse them, which means people are going to see your brand. So that then when they've seen your brand, they'll go onto social media and they'll say, oh, I just saw a post by that company and I've got their bag already. So I've already built a loyalty to the customer and the customer's built a loyalty to me. So it's those low cost ideas that I come up with in my head. The other thing is a lot of people overcomplicate things. They come up with these really complicated theories when the majority of people are vastly simple. So the most simplistic approach normally gets the best outcomes.
Wow. And what could be more simple than getting 2,000 or 10,000 tote bags, donating them to a charity, giving people who don't have a heap of money $1 worth of tote bag, and then having your brand all over town in a small country town? That's so clever. So how long did it take you to think of that? Like, how does your brain actually work? Because mine doesn't work like yours.
That's just someone asked me a question. When I say my brain works like AI, you ask me a question and it just instantly comes out as an idea. So another one we had was a lot of people giving away coffee cups, because I'm really not into ephemeric style marketing. Like, if you're going to give someone a pen, give them a really good pen, because if you give them a crap one, they're not going to use it. It's going to be thrown away. It's pointless. You've wasted money.
Oh,
And we're
James,
talking
that's
about
the
coffee
truest
cups.
thing ever. That one,
Yeah.
I'm sick of people giving away crappy crap. Like, give
Well,
away something useful.
it also depends. If you're going to go to an expo and you're going to buy 2,000 pens to give away crap ones, because in theory, it doesn't matter. But if you're going to, if you're a supports organization and you're going to give a pen to a supports coordinator, you want it to be a good pen. You want them to use it. So when we came back to doing the coffee cups, the keep cups, everyone was pumping out these cheap plastic keep cups, okay? And let's just spend a little bit more money. And everyone's like, no. I said, we want a keep cup that stays on their desk. that they're proud of. So we came up with this beautiful, and that company that I worked for at the time, I actually still have their keep cup. I've still got about 4 of them still in a packet. And every so often people come to me and go, hey, do you still got one of those keep cups? I accidentally broke mine. But what it was a double lined glass keep cup with a very simple brand around it with a glass lid, which means you can put it into a dishwasher. It's beautiful, but also what it shows is what's in the cup. Because what that organization specialized in was autism. And an autistic person, in theory, if they can't see it sometimes, they won't engage with it. So in theory, if you have a cup where you can't see in it, how do you know how much water's in it? How much do you know how much coffee's in it? How much of you drink? How much of you consume? Where if you can see it, in theory, so it's that autistic people look at it like this. We want something that's going to stay on their desk. Another one we did, which I did during COVID, is a lot of people were giving wine to referrals, and I'm very much against giving people alcohol, especially we were in Victoria at the time and there's a lot of mental health issues.
Well, you don't know who you're giving it to. You don't know if it's a blessing or a curse.
Yeah. So, and a bottle of wine, even though it says only have one stated drink a day, let's admit it, people polish off the whole bottle. So it's actually quite a bad thing. So what I said was to this company, I said, what if we gave them a bottle of olive oil? And they're like, what do you mean? I said, brand a bottle of olive oil. Because all these people in lockdown, they're having to cook at home. They're having to cook food. At the end of the day, when they're cooking dinner and they're pissed off with the day, they're going to grab your brand and go, oh, this company, oh, that's right, that company gave me olive oil. And every single day, they're going to look at that for the bottle, for the length of the bottle. So a bottle of olive oil can last you months. You literally have your brand in someone's kitchen every single day.
Crazy.
If you're a service provider, you can give that bottle of olive oil to a participant. They've got that in their kitchen every single day. You have other companies using your brand.
That's just
so it's all about
amazing.
Brand position. It's all about brand positioning. That's what that's how I look at stuff. How do you build a brand and how do you position a brand?
Okay, so let's play with an idea here because I want people to see how they can think outside the box. And I am learning so fast, even just chatting with you. You know, you had your see-through coffee cup. Brilliant. You have your olive oil, not for the same metaphorical reason, but for the practical reason. All right, let's imagine there's a SIL provider out there who has nothing special about them, which is like most SIL providers, and they try and go, how can we actually do something that lets people know that we care? Because everyone believes they care so much more than everyone else. Whether that's true or not, who knows? But they're like, we care so much that we're going to use what to get the word out about us? What might they do, James?
If I was a SIL provider right now and I was doing high physical supports, I would probably I would speak to my participants. I would come up with their favorite recipes that they like to cook. I would then put that into a cookbook with the adaptions that they use to be able to cook it themselves. And then I would also probably, from that cookbook, get one key staff member and shoot some form of podcast cooking each meal. So that in theory, we've got a 3-point of call. We've got our participants feeling like they're being valued. We've got their story being out there. We've got a cookbook that's an adaptive cookbook, which means it's going to go to a further market. But also we're backing that up with some form of video. This would also help with the fact that a lot of participants complain that their staff may not know culturally appropriate cuisine for them. So in theory, the book plus the video would back that. And what that shows from a SIL provider perspective is that you're proactive in supporting your participants. So in theory, you've come up with a full social media campaign, you've got a book, you've got stuff out there, and then a book costs nothing really to print en masse, and that is what you give away. So in theory, people are going to take that book, participants are going to take that book, they're going to take it to their SIL home that they're not even with you, okay? And they're going to start using that book, and then they're going to start following your YouTube.
That's just remarkable.
Because they want to know how to cook it. So in theory, you're getting brand recognition across multiple platforms.
I love it. And then you hand that idea, which is what you do. You come up with an idea, you hand it off. You hand that idea off to, say, your web guy, and you go, right, I want you to take this cookbook of 40 recipes. I want 40 blog pages to be done once a week for the next 40 weeks. And I also want you to turn this 40 recipes into little PDFs that are 5 pages long, and we're going to send these PDFs off to all the support coordinators in our network every week from now for that's 8 weeks worth of recipes.
Yeah.
And suddenly they're like, that's brilliant, but there's no way, not one chance in 1,000 I would have thought of this idea. Like, James, who are the people around you who do some of the implementing? Or are you a guy who turns up at companies and goes, here's your idea, give it to Joe Blow? Like, how do you do that?
So it very much depends, because some ideas don't work without certain people involved. So with some companies, when I work with them, I would prefer to understand who their staff are, because I think that when you outsource stuff, it doesn't have a longevity. So outsourcing an idea is great, but the practicality of that is that it can be a very expensive endeavor. So I will get to know what they already have in their team. So sometimes I will help physically implement it. So in theory, if it was around shooting in the kitchen, I would probably come to the first few. We would find an external person to do the shooting, because we need something that's semi-professional. I'd help them negotiate what that would look like financially, so the company's not being ripped off. And then I would come along and help direct the couple of first ones, just to make sure that it's to brand, and then I would disappear. I don't need to be there. But the videographer, the photographer, all those people understand what's happening. So it very much just depends. But on other ideas, like obviously like the coffee cup idea, that's just an idea. You just give it to someone and you walk away. You know what I mean? It's just hey, thank you. Yes, we spent 2 hours together, and you're going to get really good marketing, and I'm going to get a couple of $100 for an idea. You know what I mean? But then obviously there's bigger, these ideas are quite simplistic in theory and easy to deliver on. When it comes to things like, when I talk about the tote bags, that was one step in a very long process of implementing a large service provider into a new region. So that was one step. That was brand recognition. After brand recognition, there's another step and another step and another step. So with that, you have constant input around making sure, think of it like as a project manager more than anything. So on a project like that, I wouldn't be involved in the project, but I would be making sure that the project was held accountable. So when we go, well, this was our standard we were going to hit, and we were going to hit this base, and it didn't happen. Why didn't it happen? What resources do we need to make it happen? And how do we get to the next step quicker by understanding what's happened in the past? So basically, it would look more like a project management style position. So yeah.
Okay. So I'm listening to you describe this, and to me it sounds like you're describing an Asana project or like a massive project. So you have the idea, your brain is thinking 77 steps, but it's like it's the nitty-gritty that you're passing off. You're like, I don't want to touch the nitty-gritty, just take the idea. Here's your 12 steps, you work it out. Am I hitting the mark, or am I still missing it?
So yeah, pretty much. So my background prior to working intensively just in the disability sector is I worked in the arts sector, okay? And I worked as a director and a choreographer, okay? And an artistic director on works. So what you have to understand is, though a director of a movie, right, is a concept person, okay? They can't do any of it. They just have a really good concept, and they hold everyone in the team accountable to their actions to get to the blockbuster movie, okay? So they look at something and they go, so someone might give them a concept of, one of the concepts I worked on was for a satire style Christmas show for adults. They said they wanted it to be a burlesque style. So we worked on this concept that Santa was not a very good person. And that's the reason Santa surrounded himself by little people. And Santa had a bit of an obsession with children. And that's the reason he gave him presents. So Santa was actually a bad person. And we were trying to fix Santa's image. So they said, we want to make Santa look bad. We want it to be a burlesque show. And we want it to be over Christmas, okay? And I went, well, let's make Santa look bad. And in doing that, let's have the main person of the conversation be a consultant coming in trying to fix Santa's image. Okay?
This is amazing. This is like the movie Hancock, the superhero movie where you've got a superhero and someone's got to help him learn how to do life.
Yeah. So it was that. And then all I did is I then worked with a lighting designer, with a sound designer, and with a bunch of artists, circus artists and burlesque artists, on coming up with very select parts of it. But I'm not a handstander. I'm not a burlesque performer. So I just understand what it's got to look like holistically. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I now apply to the art sector. So when someone goes, we want to start doing services on Indigenous communities, okay? in remote Australia, okay? The first thing I would say to them is, so how much time do you have to sit on community? And they're like, what do you mean? I said, well, you have to go sit there. You have to go be present in the space for a long period of time and do a lot of trust building, a lot of culture appropriate. There's a lot of work here. And they'll go, oh no, we just want to go there and start doing services because we're here and need it. And I'll say, well, you're not the right provider. You're going to need to go find the right person to sit on community for a long period of time, implement yourself into the community, change the conversation, and then get an outcome. So yeah, people just put ideas to me. I come up with really big, far-fetched plans. We put it on paper, and then I come in and help where they need that.